The way you beat a guy like that, you're not going to outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering the counter, you're going to lose that fight.
AJ's chin's gone, right? Like, and I'm not saying that I believe that. I don't believe that. I think getting beaten up by Daniel Dubois does not mean your chin's gone, especially when you keep getting up and you managed to rock him late in the fight and you stayed in the fight. And I think Daniel Dubois is a freak, like, you know, AJ is a freak. He's a one-off. He's not, Jake Paul is not Daniel Dubois. But some people are genuinely giving Jake Paul a chance. That's blowing my mind here.
Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is...
Max Kellerman recently explained why he believes Jake Paul has a real chance to beat Anthony Joshua. According to Kellerman, Joshua is undeniably skilled and a former heavyweight champion, but age may no longer be on his side. Jake Paul, on the other hand, brings youth, energy, hunger, and confidence into the ring. Kellerman argues that for Joshua to win, he must access his younger self again, stay active, stay aggressive, and be willing to outwork Jake from start to finish. If Joshua fights in a slow, cautious rhythm, Kellerman believes Jake's youth and pace could catch up to him in a way fans don't expect.
And he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering the counter, you're going to lose that fight. Joshua has to impose his size, strength, youth, go to the body. He has to be willing to take certain risks. And if he does that...
Kellerman says Jake Paul actually does have a chance to win, even though many people believe he's risking his life by stepping into the ring with a former heavyweight champion. He talked about Jake Paul's mindset and how much he has changed over the past few years. Jake has now fought multiple times, dealt with various forms of pressure, and learned how to stay composed when the spotlight is on him. Kellerman believes Jake won't be nervous going into this fight because he's been in big moments again and again. In fact, he said Jake thrives in high-pressure situations and performs better when the stakes are massive. Kellerman even stated that Jake has a 100% chance to win, not because he is guaranteed to beat Joshua, but because he has absolute belief in his preparation, skills, and the team surrounding him. Some experts are even predicting an upset, pointing out that Joshua is older, his reflexes have slowed, and he no longer has the same explosive style he had when he was undefeated and feared.
Experience that Jake has gained in the 5 years he's been in the sport. To be in your 12th or 13th fight in front of 80,000 people at AT&T Stadium in front of 125 million viewers, that's not experience you can gain normally. So he's gonna go into that event very calm and very composed, and I fully believe that he does 100% think he's going to beat Anthony Joshua, yes.
What about the weight? Will there be a limit for Joshua?
So there's a lot of discussion around the weight. Joshua fought Usyk twice. Both of those times, Usyk was 221 pounds. Joshua was 240 to 245. When Jake fought Mike Tyson last year, 227 pounds. I expect Jake will come in anywhere between 225 and 230, and Anthony Joshua has a weight limit of 245 pounds.
There will be those, as you're aware, that will look at it and criticise this fight. There already have been, haven't there? They'll say it's a real mismatch. What would you say to them? Are we going to be watching sport at its purest?
I would say it's much less of a mismatch than what you saw with AJ and Francis Ngannou, who a massive man, but relatively no boxing experience. I would say it's much less of a mismatch than AJ's 9th or 10th fight against guys who've been knocked out 20 to 25 times. Given AJ's pedigree, Jake is built for this. Jake is built for the big moments. So do I think it's dangerous for Jake Paul? Absolutely. Do I think it's also dangerous for Anthony Joshua? 100%.
I mean, we're just watching some of these punches being thrown now. Can he take something like that, Jake Paul?
Hey, Alexander Usyk took it, right? I think that was a perfect 1-2 combination by Joshua, again, on a fairly stationary fighter in Francis Ngannou, who had a good performance against Tyson Fury. But I don't think Tyson Fury took that.
They argue that while Joshua used to dominate heavyweights, today he fights much more cautiously and is easier to hit than before. These fans also point out that Jake Paul has improved dramatically. He now has more power, stronger conditioning, and far better fundamentals than he did just a few years ago. From their perspective, the age gap and the recent performances of both fighters make this matchup far more interesting and unpredictable than people initially believed.
Well, for Paul, he's not going to land on Joshua, is he? Joshua's going to be far too skilled in evading whatever Jake Paul could throw at him.
Because I don't believe he's an evading fighter. I think he's one of those fighters that is extremely powerful to where a fighter is simply afraid. The problem is that all of the pressure's on Joshua at the moment. So Jake Paul, if he gets knocked out in 12 seconds, he should get knocked out. The problem is as soon as Joshua starts taking damage, all of a sudden he's thinking, the world is watching me, I'm a professional fighter, and I'm getting beat off a YouTuber. All of the pressure is in Joshua, and that's a lot that can weigh on a man.
Just Jake Paul can't damage him, though.
People can damage him, though. He's went down.
No, people can.
Well,
people
champion.
can. Yeah. No, like Alexander Usyk can, Daniel Dubois can, but these are supreme athletes. Jake,
completely correct. Yes, there's a difference in someone who's been boxing their entire life versus a YouTuber. I completely understand that, but you can't deny that Jake Paul has power. I think it's one of his only attributes. I think he's a very poor boxer, but what he does have is a weird technique where you don't know what
he's got power. How do we know he's got power?
He's knocked people out.
What Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley?
Yeah.
Tyron Woodley was
like,
arguably one of the best UFC fighters there's ever been.
Mate. Like,
no, mate. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that he's going to go in there and walk Joshua all over. But you can't deny that he has lights out power. It's just
I would deny that. I would deny that he has that kind of power.
Yeah, in an amateur boxing ring, yeah, fine. But not against a two-time world champion. We're talking about here.
Again, I understand the contempt in what I'm saying, and I do see how it is completely stupid thinking a YouTuber could break Anthony Joshua. But the thing is that he's going to be training for this fight. Joshua has all of the world looking at him thinking you should walk him over. If it gets 2 rounds, 3 rounds inside, I think Joshua loses.
Yeah. You think he gets beat?
I mean, I think the pressure will get to him. I think if he loses to Jake Paul, he's the embarrassment to boxing. And if you get inside 3 rounds where you've not put him away like everyone thinks you will, all of a sudden that pressure to finish the fight as he should is going to gain and gain and gain.
Is there any truth in this, Jamie? Can you see a world where Dan's theory is basically this geezer can punch and he therefore has a puncher's chance? I think he's got no chance. Like slim, if none.
No chance.
None. Literally none.
No chance.
No. It's one of them, innit? I honestly, without going like extreme, Dan, I think Anthony Joshua, if he could only use one hand, wins the fight. I honestly do.
This is the thing, and I love Joshua. You know, he's arguably the pride of Britain when it comes to boxing. He's a great fighter. But could you say he's past his best? Could you say that he's been tested too many times? The thing that it relates to me is when you look at Silva in the UFC, as soon as he got knocked out, his chin became glass. And I think that's the same with Joshua. I don't think he can take a punch anymore. I think he's one of those people where it's almost he damages way too easy now. And it's one of those things where I think when you're a boxer and you've had a few defeats...
For Tony Jeffries, an Olympic boxer, offered a different angle on why Jake Paul should not be underestimated. He said Jake has every resource a fighter could want. He can hire elite trainers, world-class conditioning coaches, sports psychologists, nutritionists, and top-level sparring partners. Because of his financial resources, Jake can build a perfect training camp without cutting any corners. Jeffries also explained that Jake understands this is the biggest challenge of his career, so he will prepare harder than ever before. Along with that, Jake has the age advantage. Jeffries reminded everyone that youth is one of the biggest weapons in boxing. Younger fighters recover faster, push harder in training, and often enter the ring stronger, fresher, and more explosive.
Difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. They'll come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pound versus 252 pound. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had 1, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that on there? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through and switch them to 12s. But I guess these days, anything happens in boxing, right? The boys will follow similar rules to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in November, but that fight was 8 2-minute rounds and 14-ounce gloves. Not similar if it's smaller gloves and 2-minute rounds. Who wrote this for the zone? It marks the first time Joshua will have contested less than 10 rounds since...
Meanwhile, many analysts pointed out a different issue not with the fighters, but with boxing itself. They argued that the sport created this situation. Even though Joshua is a world champion and an Olympic gold medalist, his biggest payday ever came from Jake Paul's offer. That means Jake Paul brings more attention, more money, and more public interest than many top contenders. Experts believe that if Jake Paul can offer more than a traditional heavyweight title fight, it shows how much the sport has changed and why these crossover fights keep happening. Analysts say you can't blame fighters for accepting the biggest paycheck available. Many fans claim Joshua can't take punches anymore or that his chin is gone because of his knockout losses. But the analysts clarified that just because Joshua was beaten by another heavyweight like Daniel Dubois, it doesn't automatically mean Jake Paul will beat him. Joshua still has world-class skills, serious power, and years of experience. People are exaggerating his decline, and Joshua still has every ability to win clearly if he stays disciplined, sharp, and focused.